Lee Cheol-soo stood before the shimmering elixir, his hands trembling with anticipation. The soft glow from the pill illuminated his eager expression, casting fleeting shadows across the dim chamber. His mind raced, an unrelenting torrent of thoughts fueled by years of frustration and longing. This moment felt like the culmination of his struggles, the key to shedding the burdens of a past riddled with humiliation and regret. The elixir represented more than just power. It was a symbol of his ambition, a bridge to the future he had long envisioned. The tantalizing promise of control, influence, and admiration seemed within reach. In his heart, he saw himself ascending to unparalleled heights, each step bringing him closer to his grand dream, the throne of a harem king. On the far side of the cave, Jinwei wandered through the damp, shadowed expanse and stumbled upon a tranquil pool of water. Its surface glistened faintly under the dim light filtering through cracks in the rocky ceiling. As he took in the surroundings, the realization struck him. A place so pristine and secluded resembled a hidden bathhouse. His gaze shifted, catching an unusual mark etched into the wall. A deep groove, sharp and deliberate, revealed the trace of a sword strike, its purpose long obscured by time. Jinwei leaned closer, his brow furrowing in curiosity. The precision of the marks hinted at the skill of the one who wielded the blade, but his thoughts were abruptly shattered by a distant scream that pierced the silence. Alarm surged through him as he turned toward the source of the cry. Without hesitation, he sprinted through the winding cave, his voice calling out as his concern grew with every step. The echo of his words bounced off the cold stone walls as he rushed deeper into the cavern. When he finally arrived at the scene, Jinwei stopped in his tracks. There lay Lee Cheol-soo, sprawled on the ground, his expression a mix of shock and pain. Jinwei's breath caught as his eyes landed on the object before them. A small vial, radiant and otherworldly. The air seemed heavier, charged with an indescribable energy. Jinwei's disbelief was palpable as he took in the sight of the legendary treasure, the heavenly elixir. It's an elixir formed over 1,000 years by gathering the energy of extreme yin energy. It's a rare medicine, but it contains such strong yin energy that it's harmful to vitality. Jinwei approached with a worried expression, his steps quickening as he crouched beside Lee Cheol-soo. Concern etched across his face. He examined his junior, relief mingling with apprehension as he tried to assess the situation. His voice, calm yet tinged with urgency, sought reassurance, though his junior seemed lost in his thoughts. Lee Cheol-soo, however, barely acknowledged Jinwei's presence. Inwardly, his anger simmered, a torrent of frustration and dread roiling beneath his composed exterior. The implications of his situation were dire, and his thoughts spiraled. The accumulation of excessive yin energy in his body felt like a ticking bomb. He knew the consequences. It could disrupt the delicate balance of his vitality, twisting his physique in ways he could barely fathom. The very foundation of his hard-earned strength and stature felt threatened. Tears welled in his eyes, but they weren't born from pain or weakness. They carried the weight of overwhelming relief, a catharsis after the whirlwind of emotions coursing through him. Yet his tears didn't go unnoticed. Jinwei, still at his side, noted the glistening trails and pressed again, his concern unwavering. Steeling himself, Lee Cheol-soo shifted his focus, suppressing the turmoil within. He turned his attention to the elixir between them, its radiant glow casting an almost ethereal light. He spoke with measured composure, recognizing the artifact for what it was, the legendary Midasungsu, the heavenly elixir capable of awakening vital energy and unlocking latent meridians. With a resolute expression, he offered the elixir to Jinwei, insisting his senior should claim the opportunity it presented. Jinwei, taken aback by the gesture, hesitated. His initial shock gave way to refusal, a wave of humility washing over him. He couldn't accept what Lee Cheol-soo had discovered first. Lee Cheol-soo, unwavering in his resolve, pressed his case with a determined expression. He reasoned that his own lack of natural aptitude would render the elixir's effects less impactful. Sharing it, he argued, would dilute its potency, wasting its full potential. For the sake of their sect's future and efficiency, he insisted that Jinwei, as the one bearing the responsibility of restoration, should claim the treasure entirely. Jinwei, however, stood firm in his refusal. His conviction radiated in his tone as he countered, declaring that precisely because Lee Cheol-soo lacked talent, he needed the elixir's transformative power more. Jinwei believed in his ability to ascend through sheer discipline and training, and he saw it as his duty to ensure that his junior could stand as his equal, sharing the burdens of their shared goals. Lee Cheol-soo's frustration grew. Jinwei's steadfast righteousness, admirable yet unyielding, was proving to be an obstacle. Inwardly, Lee Cheol-soo bristled at the thought. How could this stubborn senior refuse such a gift, especially when it was offered with genuine respect? Determined to sway him, Lee Cheol-soo decided to change tactics. With deliberate motion, he reached for Jinwei's hand, his expression softening to one of earnestness. His tone shifted, adopting a gentle persuasion. He framed his offer as a gesture of admiration and respect for his elder, imploring Jinwei to see that this decision was made with his best interests in mind. The sincerity in his words left little room for argument, and Jinwei hesitated. Faced with Lee Cheol-soo's unwavering insistence, Jinwei finally relented. Though his reluctance lingered, he accepted the elixir with a mix of gratitude and resignation. Hearing Jinwei's reluctant agreement, a triumphant glint sparked in Lee Cheol-soo's eyes. Satisfaction swelled within him as he mused silently to himself, confident in his understanding of his senior. When it came to brotherhood and duty, Jinwei's unshakable resolve always faltered under the weight of such appeals. Without wasting a moment, Lee Cheol-soo shifted his focus to the practicalities of the elixir's consumption. His voice turned instructive as he reminded Jinwei of the elixir's yin-based nature and the necessity of utilizing techniques aligned with the yin element to properly harness its power. Jinwei nodded thoughtfully, recalling one of the foundational manuals they had recovered earlier, the 3 yin true technique. Its methods, steeped in yin principles, were exactly what he needed to safely and effectively assimilate the elixir's potent energy. Determined to prepare himself, Jinwei immediately retrieved the manual. The ancient text, filled with intricate chants and esoteric instructions, required precise understanding and focus. He sat cross-legged in the cave, the faint glow of the elixir providing a surreal backdrop to his study. Jinwei's expression grew serious as he delved into the teachings, committing the chants and techniques to memory with unwavering dedication. As Jinwei immersed himself in the manual, Lee Cheol-soo observed him intently from the side. He couldn't help but marvel at the pace with which his senior flipped through the pages, absorbing the intricate details of the 3 yin true technique. A sense of awe flickered within him. Jinwei's brilliance was undeniable, a true genius in every sense of the word. At this level of aptitude, Lee Cheol-soo thought, his senior might not even require much guidance to safely assimilate the elixir's power. Minutes passed, and Jinwei closed the manual with a decisive motion. His eyes shone with confidence as he declared that he had committed the entire text to memory. Lee Cheol-soo's astonishment was immediate. His junior had expected diligence, perhaps even some hesitation, but this display of effortless mastery left him momentarily speechless. Jinwei carefully wrapped his hand with a cloth before lifting the elixir, handling it with the reverence it deserved. His gaze lingered on the shimmering pill, and a wave of determination surged through him. The midasungsu, generously relinquished by his junior, now rested in his hands. Resolute, he vowed to fully claim its power, honoring the trust placed in him. Without hesitation, Jinwei brought the elixir to his lips and consumed it in one swift motion. The moment the pill slid down his throat, an intense, freezing cold erupted within him, spreading like wildfire. His chest tightened painfully, and his breathing grew labored as the icy sensation surged through his veins. A sharp pang struck his heart, as though it were encased in frost, and he stumbled to his knees, clutching his chest. The energy unleashed by the elixir rampaged wildly, colliding with his internal energy in an uncontrollable torrent. Jinwei's body trembled as he struggled to stabilize the force, beads of cold sweat forming on his brow. Despite his training, the violent clash of energies overwhelmed him. The yin energy within the midasungsu was far stronger than he anticipated, its power far too fierce to tame. His limbs grew numb as the cold seeped deeper, creeping through every corner of his body and threatening to freeze him from the inside out. The violent turmoil rendered him powerless, his consciousness beginning to slip away. As the frost encased him further, Jinwei's thoughts grew faint, swallowed by the unrelenting storm of the elixir's energy. Jinwei jolted awake, his eyes snapping open to find himself in an unfamiliar realm. The surroundings were strange, shrouded in an otherworldly haze, yet he instinctively understood where he was. This was not a physical place. It was the realm within his own mind, a reflection of his inner self. The realization struck him like a bell toll, and his resolve solidified. The Midasungsu's energy, untamed and wild, was now coursing through his being. He knew he had no time to falter. To claim this energy as his own and ensure it would not consume him, he would have to confront the trials of his mind head-on. As the mist around him began to clear, Jinwei found himself observing a scene from his past. His younger self, no older than a child, stood with a bloodied stone in hand, the lifeless body of a crow lying at his feet. The boy's eyes burned with cold defiance, his expression unyielding. The memory stirred unease within Jinwei. He remembered this moment, a time of impulsive justice delivered with the hands of a child. The young Jinwei, with a voice devoid of remorse, justified his actions, explaining the crow's crime and its supposed deserving fate. But those words, spoken with such conviction, pierced Jinwei like a blade, dredging up the weight of the labels that had haunted him. Monster, cruel, unfeeling. The younger Jinwei's gaze shifted abruptly to his older self. His eyes darkened with accusation and grim resolve. Without warning, the boy lunged forward, his small frame radiating an unsettling intensity. The attack was sudden and relentless, fueled by the raw embodiment of Jinwei's unresolved guilt and doubts. The older Jinwei braced himself, knowing this was no mere memory. It was a trial born of the Midasungsu's energy, forcing him to face the darkness within his heart. Lee Cheol-soo stood at a distance, his expression tightening as he watched Jinwei writhe in visible torment. The oppressive, freezing aura radiating from Jinwei's body was evidence of the Midasungsu's volatile energy clashing within him. Lee Cheol-soo's thoughts churned with regret and frustration. Despite Jinwei's mastery of the heavenly body technique, it seemed even that wasn't enough to balance the overwhelming force of the elixir. The realization struck Lee Cheol-soo like a blow. Somewhere within Jinwei's mind, an inner demon had found its chance to exploit a moment of vulnerability. It was a chilling thought. He had always believed Jinwei's talent to be unparalleled, his will unshakable. Yet, even someone as extraordinary as Jinwei carried hidden shadows. Lee Cheol-soo gritted his teeth, torn between his disdain for unnecessary entanglements and the undeniable truth that he could not let this opportunity slip away. Jinwei was more than just a companion. He was an investment, a key player in Lee Cheol-soo's broader ambitions. Losing him now would be a devastating blow, one Lee Cheol-soo was unwilling to accept. Steeling himself, he stepped forward, braving the icy aura that threatened to freeze him in his tracks. Each step felt like pushing against a wall of frost, but Lee Cheol-soo pressed on, his determination unwavering. Finally reaching Jinwei, he placed a firm hand on his senior's trembling body. With a deep breath, Lee Cheol-soo began to channel his own chi, guiding it into Jinwei's frozen form. His energy surged, weaving through the chaotic force of the Midasungsu, attempting to stabilize the rampaging yin energy. Amid the swirling chaos of his mind, Jinwei's struggle against his inner demon raged on. The younger version of himself, embodying his buried guilt and darker instincts, launched relentless attacks, each strike threatening to shatter his resolve. Jinwei gritted his teeth, his mind teetering on the edge of collapse as the violent energy of the Midasungsu surged uncontrollably within him. Then, cutting through the storm like a lifeline, a voice called out to him. The words, familiar and sharp, jolted Jinwei's consciousness. His thoughts faltered, and he recognized the voice, Lee Cheol-soo's. Startled, his mind reeled. Junior? The voice rang clear, commanding his attention. It urged him to seize control of the elixir's power before it consumed him entirely. Jinwei's heart wavered. He wanted to, desperately, but the overwhelming presence of the inner demon bore down on him, blocking every attempt to focus. Suddenly, the voice of Lee Cheol-soo cut through again, firm and resolute. It wasn't a plea but an order, guiding Jinwei with precise instructions. The 3-in true technique, those foundational chants and energy pathways he had committed to memory only moments ago, were his only hope now. The command to focus and direct the raging yin energy was like an anchor, grounding him amidst the chaos. Though his inner demon loomed, the weight of Lee Cheol-soo's unwavering guidance gave Jinwei a renewed sense of determination. Failure was not an option. Falling into demonic deviation would mean losing himself entirely, and he couldn't allow that. Not now, not when his junior had placed so much trust in him.